a sense of welcoming, a sense of well-wishing. And giving this first 15 minutes or so to settling, to gathering, and to receiving. This 15-minute or so pause, a pattern at the start of these times together, in this space and time where we individually are, a sense of individuality, sense of particularness, and the common, the precious, knowing. The knowing in this moment, in this space. And the breath received and released. In the life of this moment, in this place, allowing a sense of gathering, welcoming, receiving, and the giving of this life, this attention, this space, this time. In this knowing. Just 10, 15-minute permission the naturalness of this. And just give a little time, give a little space, give a little welcome. This gathering of attention, and gathering of life. And breath and this rhythm. Alive and awake, and response of kindness. aware of the knowing. Giving life to life, attention to the receiving, and the inevitable letting go. When there's all the wishing, allowing and permission. And it's gathering. In this time, this space, this mystery is life. It's like this. A brief knowing, a brief reviewing, I find helpful. And knowing what we don't know and reviewing of our memory of what has happened in this last 15 minutes in this particular time and space. We give time to this gathering. If it's the first time, then you may not know the pattern. It was sort of established when Zoom was new and my relationship to Zoom was new, and other people's relationship to Zoom and Zoom talks was new. And just the way that the world works, give 15 minutes for a welcome, 15 minutes to connect with a well-wishing, 15 minutes to give life to life and space to that knowing. And then I ring the bell around that time. And maybe say something more, reflect on something more, on some subject or theme. And then after about half an hour, stop and maybe open for some questions that can be typed in the chat box. And it's not an incredibly large, it's a tiny gathering really, live. And I'm not sure how many people or what will happen to this recording in future days, months, years. Because it's not on a very open and easily searchable platform. And then sometimes the website goes down. So there's a sense of speaking into a camera. And it's this sense of this moment and the qualities and the faculties that we can bring to it. You know, the basic ones that support investigation and realization. In the list of the 22, they come after a sense of acceptance or a sense of some sort of evenness. Because the basic ones are this strange experience that we can divide into 6, eye, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, which is what is used for basic sensitivity and sense of separation I mean, there are other senses, but the ones that work in terms of separating us are the eye, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. And because the sense of balance, or the sense of hunger, or the sense of even the sense of morality, it doesn't. It's not that. If it can be called a sense, the ones that separate are the eye, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, and that's the ones that we use to. When there's a response from that, the reaction to that, there's a receiving and a sensitivity and a reaction to that. And that's life. And life is about, can I be happy? Can I find a way to find an optimal way of being alive? And of course, because of the way that causes and conditions are, and because of the way that separation works, it works for a little while. And there's all sorts of, oh, wow, I've got it. Hey, happiness. And then part of this is also that there's going to be, nope, don't like this. I don't want this. This is, and then I really shouldn't have this. This is terrible. Why me? Poor me. I didn't ask for this. This is sukha, dukkha, somanasa, domanasa. And this is pleasure and pain, or happiness and suffering, or however you want to describe sukha and dukkha. And then the resulting proliferations on sukha, dukkha, somanasa and domanasa, which is delight and pleasure. And wow, this is so good. I really like this ice cream. I feel so happy to have this. I feel so pleased about this. And then it's all going to go. There was always going to be association with a dislike, separation from the light, grief, sorrow, lamentation, and despair. Any of the clinging to any of this is going to be stressful. And the realization that this is how it is, and the acceptance of this is how it is, that's the start of this. The faculty that gets the whole thing going, some sort of confidence. This cannot be all there is to it. What really should work? There must be something more. And then what really should work is investigation. The confidence that there must be something misbalanced by the investigation. Well, what the heck is it? And, the confidence that there's something that can be learnt. There's something that can be related to, or the relationships can change to this experience. There's the balance of the spiritual faculties of faith, which is not knowing with confidence that there must be something that can be known, which is what faith is. And it can grow as the confidence that something can be known is actually known. We'll get to that. But the faith is, there must be something. And then the investigation is the wisdom part of it. And so that's the two sides of the five faculties, the five so-called spiritual faculties. Saddha and Panya. And then the other two that balance. And Virya is putting effort into it. Actually making effort, some sort of struggle, some sort of particularly to stop crawling back to the same old habits that have never worked before are unlikely to work if one continues in it, thinking that and then wondering why it doesn't. Then so stopping following blind impulses, stop following habits that lead to more. Stop following compulsions that lead to more. And appreciate and notice the habits and the things that actually do help one feel this life is not a waste of time. There are blessings that can be brought. There is something to delight in this moment. It's beyond price and so precious. And because we get glimpses of it. We get glimpses of it when we recognize that we will feel a sense of happiness and experience a sense of happiness that is not dependent upon what's happening. Even if it's only for a moment, or there's a sense of fulfillment in a moment. Because the virya is, the balance for that is samadhi. Samadhi is such a loaded term nowadays. I do feel it's more to do with gathering, continuity, something to do with sustaining that, something to do with appreciation, something to do with bearing with something to do with keeping going. Undistracted, undispersed. And finding a way that is sustained. When the balancing function or the balancing faculty is sati. So the 5 spiritual faculties are Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya. And the Samadhi's in the middle, that's the one that balances. Sati, Sama Sati. It's not the middle finger. Sorry if that was by mistake, but it's the middle bit that balances, or that knows. It's the present awareness in this moment. It's not trying to get rid of anything or trying to get anything. It's not trying. It's with all the aspects of this that are safe. The body and the breath, basic thing. The posture and qualities of the body, and this most gross sense of separation, which is weird because is it a sense of separation or not? Because it's the mind of the body or the body in the mind. Or, how does it all work anyway? Which is part of the weirdness of this. It knows the movement towards or away things of Vedana on its simplest level. And the 3 types of Vedana, Sukha, Dukkha, Adukkhamasa, Asukhamasa, Dukkha, neither pleasurable nor painful, which for some reason aren't translated as neutral. Neutral's funny because that gives it something, but it's not known whether it's pleasurable or painful. That's the nature of asukhamasa dukkha. It's neither pleasant nor painful, neither sukha nor dukkha. But when it's known, that third Vedana, when it's known, it's actually quite peaceful. And when it's not known, there's something a bit scary about it. And so there's a sense of movement away. So there's 2 types of dukkha and 2 types of Vedana, types of dukkha as well, because there's dukkha that is ordinary dukkha and there's dukkha that one adds to dukkha, the extra complication of dukkha. But for now, there's Vedana. It's something to know. And then the citta, just to know how the heart is, know how the tone of this moment is for one. And for knowing that, there's a certain amount of necessity to know what's thinking and what's not thinking. Because if there's not the space around thinking, then the citta is difficult to see, difficult to know. And so a continuity of attention. So it knows, first of all, what's blocking. Because Dhammanusati, after Jittanusati, the list starts with the 5 hindrances. Now it's turning the 5 hindrances into Dhamma. And so there's an investigation of what supports it, what feeds it, what gets it going, what gets the hindrances going. Because then there's less interest in feeding them. Because it's, you recognize you're feeding ignorance, feeding that habit. It's painful, and basically we wish ourselves well. And then figuring out what keeps us bound, what keeps us tied down. Which is what the fetters are. How do they get tighter or stronger? How are they broken? How are they weakened? Where do they end? And then you get to the factors of enlightenment, which the first one is investigating Dhammas. So it goes back to investigating Dhammas. What the heck is happening? Without a preconception. There's the difficulty, because we tend to figure that we really know what's happening. And we attack the present moment with a preconception and wonder why it bites back and tells us, no, it's not like that. No, things are different. And we make mistakes. Continue. Knowing that we don't know. It's an incredibly important faculty. Because after the 5 spiritual faculties are balanced, or what they actually turn into is, from faculties, they turn into powers. It's the 5 spiritual powers then. Once there's some insight, they actually become powers. Rather than just faculties, they become powers. All the 5 spiritual powers. And that's a shift. It's knowing that we don't know, and knowing what is known, knowing this moment. What is knowable is this moment, this time, and this space. This is where we can delight in the knowing of this particular time and space. And then the knowing that we know this time and space, the knowing of the knowing. The knowing of dukkha, not the getting rid of dukkha, but the knowing of dukkha. The abandoning of the cause in the present moment. the realizing of the cessation, the knowing where the suffering is, and the not making a problem about things, even the problems, not making a problem about the problems. And there are enough problems without making more problems about the problems. And practicing the Eightfold Path. Because that's, people ask, well, what should I do? With, what should I do about? I don't know. Tell me. Yeah, and I get caught in the trap of trying to figure it out that way, and there's no end. Because I figure that I should be doing something about, which just makes more problems for everybody. But still, you do the best you can. You do the best you can with the moment you've got, because it's a muddle. And keep practicing the Eightfold Path with continuity. Which takes effort. Mindfulness. The last three factors of the path, the cultivation of the path. The last three factors of the path, virya, sati, and samadhi, are really the cultivation of the path. Because it includes sati, which is where the fields that are safe to cultivate in. The virya, the effort to do it, the effort to not do things that are foolish, the effort to sustain things that are helpful. And balanced with the samadhi, the continuity of this. And however confusing or however unsatisfactory that is, however little use or value this has, this is what it is. This is the offering that's being made. This is how it's being made in this moment. This is how it's being received in this moment. In this time and space. Which is the only time and space we have. This here and now. If we are in the here and now, that's what we got. And if we have this sense of I and me, this is what we've got. Thinking I shouldn't have this sense of I and me, then that's adding a head upon a head. And that's foolish. The understanding is that this is shared. This is given. This is received. And this can be released. Because it belongs to the Dhamma. It's the way that it is. Oh, this is just always like this. So I offer that for consideration, and if it's any good, great. If there are more questions, you'll probably just get the answer. You practice the Eightfold Path. But I'll try and be more specific. Or if I can't, then I'll let you know, because I know that I don't know. But let's see, maybe there are no questions and everybody's beyond doubt. This is enough. This is how it is. Thank you. So if there are any questions, please write. Very good to see you, Miklos. Oh. Aha. Is one's lifespan fixed to a certain age? They say it can be They say it can be changed. The lifespan of the body, potential lifespan of the body, they say it can be changed. I think beyond about 112 is difficult. And maybe there are ways that in future, fiddling with the bija niyama and the uta niyama, the physical body's lifespan can be changed. But with chitta niyama and karma niyama, that's supposed to be the lifetime of the body can be changed. Is it correct that self-blaming or guilt is not beneficial or necessary as long as we are trying not to make the same mistake again? A guilt, I feel, is again, it's an adding a head upon a head. That's the way that I tend to talk about it, because most teachers, when they're with their pupils, if the pupil makes a mistake, they don't tend to say that the pupil's a bad pupil. They tend to point out the mistake and then encourage the pupil to correct the mistake. Because they know if they say that the pupil's a bad pupil or a bad person, if they say the pupil's a bad person for making that mistake, they make it much more difficult for the pupil to correct themselves. If they say the pupil could practice better, could learn better, then they actually encourage the pupil to rectify the mistake or learn from the mistake. And teachers generally know that, from kindergarten teachers right up to postgrad teachers and professors. Because and yet, what do we do to ourselves? We say, well, I'm a terrible person because I made that mistake. We don't, or we can do, rather than recognizing that that was a great mistake and learning from it. Not learning from it or being deliberately obtuse, that's more reprehensible. That's compounding the mistake or trying to get away with things. And that also can happen. And this is the third question. And it's a self-referential question. Why is it that when the Buddha was asked a question 3 times that he had to give an answer? And this is the third question. I think this is an assumption that I know what the Buddha was thinking. is obviously false. I'm sure that there's an Abhidhamma explanation, or somebody's given some explanation somewhere. And and also with something like that, you can either believe what somebody says or you can disbelieve what somebody says. And does it really matter? Very yes and no, maybe it does. But it's not the sort of question that will really tell you more about what you should do. That's its difficulty.